we have to do something about educating. But then when we get to the situation of the education portion, you get all this pushback that's not really rooted in pushback against the content, but more pushback against the idea itself of even understanding the issues of race. And it's really difficult to know what to do from that moment, right? From that point, because ultimately, as a teacher of all these years, I can tell you that you cannot really teach someone something if they're absolutely opposed to learning it. It's not really possible. All that will happen is, you can lay out the entire case, but if they're not willing to accept it, they're just not going to accept it. And the rationality of your claims, the evidence behind your claims, the stories of racism behind your claims, they're not going to matter because this person has already decided that, no, I don't believe it. I don't think that black people are oppressed. I don't think that anything, and that's the bottom line. So I do think that openness to being empathetic, to listening and understanding other people's experience is in short supply. And that's one of the reasons it's very difficult for us to make racial progress.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it does seem like a lot of the people that I talk to, they've already had their mind made up before they get actual information, actual context on a lot of these things. So I guess I've been really fortunate to moderate this show because I'm getting such an education contextually. You and I have talked about this, and I'm going to talk more about it too. But the sharing of context behind these stories. So it's one thing to say to somebody who's ignorant about it. It's one thing to say, hey, black people are being suppressed. They're being oppressed. And it's another thing to say, hey, every single time they see a cop car, they think maybe that cop car is going to pull me over and I'm going to get shot in an altercation of a misunderstanding when I've never thought of that. And I doubt a lot of maybe white people in my social circles have also even considered that. It's not even on our radar. Another story he shared with me was that he was in a grocery store and he was the only black guy in the checkout line. And the lady cashier was very nice to everybody. And when he got up, she looked at him and she told him that the welfare computer, there's a computer system that manages welfare. I forgot the name of it. But the first thing she says to him is that system is down. So he'll have to pay cash or credit. And he's highly educated. He's an upstanding member of society. And this is the first impression that the cashier has of him is to, hey, tell him that the welfare system is down. And I wonder how many white people have that experience. I've been to plenty of grocery stores. I've never had it on my radar that that's even a possibility to have in an experience of going to a grocery store. And once it happens to you one time, that's, he's told me since then, he thinks about it every single time he's in the store. Hey, are they, should I like straighten up my collar? Should I like try to check my visual appearance to make sure I'm like looking as good as I can, so they're not going to talk to me about paying with the welfare system. So a lot of that stuff, and the persistent environments that I still don't understand that black people deal with on a regular basis. All the other stories, all the other things that I don't know. At least I'm open to hearing about it, and the show exposes me to that. The show also inspires me to bring it up in conversation to other people, where I think a lot of people are also scared of being vulnerable in a racial discussion. They're scared of like saying the wrong thing or not saying the right thing or something else.
Yeah, or being canceled, right, for something they do say.
Yeah. So So there's like overall suppression of this context and not a sharing of it. So how else am I going to know this other than talking to a Black person about what kinds of things they're dealing with, like in their day-to-day life? And again, I have just no no concept that this stuff happens, or that you'd be worried about it all the time. Um, so yeah, that's like uh, important now for me to see that I have that blind spot where I'm not thinking about that, nor am I exposed to it, nor am I really, before the show, I wasn't really actively seeking this kind of education. I was just ignorant to a lot of the experience that minority groups and Black people have. So now at least I know that there's a lot of context, and I know to listen before I try to come up with a snap judgment of it, or if I feel like I have a snap judgment, which normally I don't. I'm pretty good about just listening and then thinking about it. But if I do have a snap judgment, I try to recognize that and think, oh, what am I thinking? Why am I thinking about that? So yeah, that's how I got awareness when I was inviting him on that bike ride. He said, "Are they wearing masks or hoods?" And hood, to me, I think of like a hoodie hood. I don't think of KKK hood. I don't think about all the stuff that he meant by just the word hood. And it was funny because he saw me, my brain like recalculating what he was saying. And he knew I was like, oh, he saw that light bulb go off. And I'm like, oh, he's talking about like them being racist and him not being welcome there because he's Black. And he's also talking about me not being aware of it because I don't have to be aware of it. So yeah. And you know what? Interestingly enough, after that, I was joking with him about that. And then I said, hey, how do you actually like think about going to new places like this? What do you do? And he took me through like an online like research kind of process that he follows. He'll look up demographics. He'll look up police statistics, crime statistics, and he has access to some of the kind of military base intelligence on local areas. So he'll look at that and see, are there places that the military deems off limits in those areas? And that's a good indicator of crime or racism or incidents or anything like that. And he'll try to steer away from that. But I got to say, I don't think I've ever looked up a place to check the demographics of the place before I went there. Again, because I don't have to. And he does this when he goes to new places. I'm like, hey, you want to go to this cool coffee shop? And I'm thinking, hey, we'll go there and it'll be a chill experience. We're going to get coffee, and having a racist interaction isn't even in my decision making. So again, it's just an illustration of a blind spot that I have, where I can also improve on it. So
yeah,
now I kind of know a little bit what to do, but yeah, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that you got to give yourself a lot of credit because most people don't, in my experience anyway, have this kind of recognition that you're talking about ever. So it's super positive that you've recognized in yourself a need to learn and grow. And then it's also super important that you're actually actively taking steps, in terms of like communicating with somebody at your job about this. That's a huge step. I there are tons of people I can't get on my show because they're scared, right? Like, and they directly tell me that they're fearful of being canceled, fearful that their perspective will blow back on them, or fear that they'll be called racist even though they feel like they're not racist or whatever it is. But you have made that difficult decision not only to recognize in yourself that improvements need to be made, but like to actually actively start doing stuff to ensure that you move down that path. And I think that that is, beyond admirable. So well done, sir, on that regard. Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.